When I say the words competitive game, what do you think of? A fighting game? An RTS? An FPS perhaps? While you wouldn't be wrong to think about those first, perhaps you could try stretching it further. A card game, a board game, hell, even a carnival game or tennis. One thing that I see a lot of people get hung up on when it comes to game design is that they almost exclusively think of video games. While this is totally understandable, I feel that we shouldn't limit ourselves to just video games. Games go far back into human history, possibly even farther back than literature or cave art. A game is a game, whether it's Halo or Yahtzee, Shadow of the Colossus, or Tag. Sure, some design principles behind a roguelike probably won't carry over well into a card game, but both are games, no doubt. And looking at games other than video games allows you to explore design principles in a different light, and think about things in a way you perhaps wouldn't have come up with otherwise. Let's take a peek at a board game that some of you might know about. In the Western world, it's commonly referred to as Go. Now, I can pretty much teach you most of the rules of the game in less than 5 minutes, but you can spend the rest of your life mastering it. Go has a very rich and interesting history, and it's rooted almost exclusively in Asian culture. As such, some of the terms used in the English-speaking world are still in Japanese. So please forgive me, as I will avoid using them altogether. If you saw the Kid Icarus crossover video, you're probably aware that it's for the better. Hikari Yoshi Shinwa.
Hikari Shinwa Kurante no Kagami, or Light Myth, Palthena's Mirror.
Alright, so in Go, the game board looks like this. Generally, it's just a 19 by 19 grid, but beginners can learn on smaller boards. In Go, players take turns placing their pieces down on any intersection. The object is to surround your opponent's pieces with your pieces. Once a piece, or a group of pieces, gets surrounded by the enemy, they are removed from the board. Also, once a piece is placed down, it doesn't move like in checkers or drafts, it just chills out at its own spot in the board unless it gets captured. Or the other player throws the board across the room in anger because you're just so much more awesome at the game than they are. Also, it's illegal to make a move that immediately results in your piece getting captured, just like how you can't put yourself in check when playing chess. Players are allowed to pass their turn, and the game ends when both players pass on their turn consecutively. The player with the higher score wins. And there are a few different ways to score the game, but the most popular method in the West is each player tallies up how many spaces they captured, as well as how many pieces they have on the board. Now, as with almost any board game, there are a few special rules here and there, and popular variations do exist, but they all adhere pretty closely to what I just outlined. Now, if a player really wanted to, they could just place pieces down randomly whenever it was their turn, and they'd be totally adhering to the rules. In that respect, learning and playing Go is arguably much easier than chess, as every piece in chess has a specific starting position and a specific movement pattern, and some pieces can make certain moves under certain conditions, and However, because of the fact that you can place a piece in just about any open space on the board, trying to play strategically is pretty difficult for most people. This game was developed thousands of years ago, yet it actually presents a huge challenge to programmers today. This is because coding artificial intelligence for this game is a monumental task. Children can beat some of the best Go AI, even when the computer is given a handicap. For some perspective, as of March 2012, the top 5 artificial intelligence chess computers rank higher than the top 5 chess grandmasters throughout world history. And checkers, or English Drafts AI, was essentially perfected in 2007. If this ancient board game can stump even the most advanced artificial intelligence systems for so many years, imagine the possibility that board games have as a whole as far as game design potential. That being said, not every board game ever is a goldmine for good design principles. If you want a fairly good example of what not to do, just play a game of Sorry. Sorry is your run-of-the-mill Parker Brothers family board game that you can likely pick up at your local dollar store, and I almost hesitate to even call it a game. Almost. Sorry consists of a deck of cards, a board, and a few pieces. Anywhere between 2 to 4 players can play it simultaneously. Each player gets 4 pieces that start off in their respective home area, and they take turns drawing cards and following the directions on the cards. So if I get a card that says move forward 8 spaces, I can move any of my pieces 8 spaces ahead. The object of the game is to get all of your pieces out of home and into the safe zone. If you land on the same space as your opponent, you bump them back into their home area. As I've said before, random elements don't always undermine a game, and can actually serve to enrich a narrative experience, like dice rolling in D&D or procedural generation in Minecraft. However, there are games that exist where random elements completely undermine any semblance of strategy. and Sorry is easily one of them. The amount of spaces you get to move your pieces is completely dependent on which cards you just so happen to draw. A player can actually lose through no fault of their own, simply because the cards they drew never let them move their pieces out of their home area. And a player will often win simply because they got lucky and drew the right cards, instead of winning because they outwitted their opponents. While there is some player agency and some definitively better moves to make in some situations.
Oh, holy shit! This card says I get to split up my movement between two of my pieces! It's like a whole new world of possibilities opening up! Oh my god!
It's not really enough to offset the amount of randomness that comes out of drawing cards from the deck. Seriously, if you've not played Sorry or haven't played it in a while, I highly recommend you getting a board and playing it just to learn how badly it's designed as a competitive multiplayer game. But be sure to keep your receipt because you're probably going to want to return it shortly after. All of that being said, just because a game is badly designed doesn't mean you can't have fun with it, unless it's Sorry. Seriously, fuck that game. So yeah, to summarize, game design is not limited to video games, and you can learn neat things about game design simply by looking beyond your LCD monitor. Alright, well I'm going to go get a cup of bleach to wash the taste of Sorry out of my esophagus. See ya!
Oh, holy shit! This card says I get to split up my movement between two of my pieces! It's like a whole new world of possibilities opening up! Oh my god!
It's not really oh my god, fucking, I need to do those last. Ah.